I'm just thrilled, absolutely thrilled to have all of you guys with me. I have on Rolling with Olin today. I have some people that I just adore. All of you. We've all been through making the movie Demise, and for all of you to come on the show today, I can't tell you how much it means to me. I have the director and a few of the stars. I have our director, producer, and writer, Yara Estrada Lowe. And I have our lead actresses, two of them, Liz Fenning and Carlo Mendez. Guys, thank you in advance for coming on. This is great.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, this podcast today is we're going to talk about the movie Demise, which we were all big parts of, but we're also going to go and dive in a little deeper from taking independent filmmaking from concept to market. And I think it's really it's so needed for people that are just getting into the industry to find out a little bit more, and also people that are in the industry to find out what your guys' thoughts are and how you do things. But I just kind of really wanted to start out and Yada, you first. I would love for you to just start out and tell people what was your earliest memory and how you started in this crazy business.
So in front of the camera or behind?
Um, from your earliest memory, and then take it from there.
Sure. Well, I moved to LA in '08, and some of you may or may not know this, but I started off actually as an extra, and I'm pretty sure I signed up with Jeff Olan Casting in 2008, way before I even know who you were, Jeff.
Wow.
You hear it through the grapevine, sign up with Jeff Olan. I'm like, oh, I'll go do that. I need to join the union so I can work more. And so
Great.
that's how that journey began. Just getting that initial experience on these big productions, these big studio, films, TV shows, and everything, has been such a long journey since then. But yeah, just having that initial experience definitely opened up a whole world, and I knew that I was in the right city and wanted to definitely do this.
Fantastic. I did not know that Jeff Olan Casting was the agency that you signed up with right away, but that's really exciting. Um, Same question for you, Liz. Give the audience a little background on you and what was your earliest memory and how'd you get into this crazy industry?
I was a rat in the Pied Piper, and I had a single line that was, "I love Velveeta." There's like I grew up in a place in places with like lots of goats and Mormons. I say like pretty rural, and there's a program called the Big Red Bus, and I was on stage, and I was like, "Oh, this is the coolest thing." I was super shy as a kid. I had a stutter. I was kind of like least likely to be a professional actor. And I think until I was at Governor's School of the Arts and I was like, oh, I have to do this every day, I thought I was going to go into research. And then I was accepted into Carnegie Mellon University, which is a conservatory program. And then, had a showcase out here, and that was lucky, but I think didn't actually start working as an actor until I got over the need to be the perfect student in acting, because at its best, acting is kind of messing up as much as it is doing everything you planned. And I was so rigid in my need to control, and I did every kind of training I could until I finally just had to learn to be a piece of myself in the work.
Well, we could certainly tell that with your performance in Demise. Well, that's great. And yeah, it's hurry up and wait in this industry, right? We're all sitting around, we're waiting for that big role or whatever it might be, and it might just be 2 seconds or 5 seconds on the screen as an actor or whatever it is that we are doing. But now look where you're all at, all of us, right? We are here and we are giving information to other people because we've been in the industry so many years and doing so much. So let's talk about Demise, which we were all part of. Transparently, I was an executive producer on the film. It was an absolute joy to work on and work with everybody here. Um, Yada, please take us through pre-production, if you could, on how to make an independent film, and take us through from everything from, what you could, tell us and share with us in, getting funding, lining up your producers, how you go about it, and just, take us through a little bit of your knowledge in this wonderful, wonderful business of independent filmmaking.
Yeah, so I would definitely have to say that everything starts with producing, right? Because of course a film is always began with a great script, but I think if you really want to take control over what you're doing, and if it is your goal to produce movies, make films, knowing how to produce is essential. And so we spent about 4 to 5 months in pre-production before we shot anything. And that pre-production was with me and my producing partner, Annabelle. And so we had to put together the budget, figure out how much money we had for each department, how much money for everything, just how much you have, like where every cent was going pretty much. You had to figure out beforehand because, yeah, there's just a lot of moving parts. But yeah, that was so key because we had so many locations that we had to really, fill out the blueprint of what we're going to be shooting, where we're going to be going, what the schedule is going to look like. And everything is really in the pre-planning because when you're there on set, you're thinking of other things. You're in the moment trying to execute the plan. And if you don't have that prep time, everything will fall apart, definitely. Besides that, there was a lot of prep that I did as a director with my cinematographer. And so during pre-production, we established the look and the style and the tone and the mood and, the shots and the whole nine, really. Finding our camera and lenses, just so much that goes into it. But we had such a great team that everything went as smoothly as possible. And that's with saying that doesn't mean that there aren't things that arise the day of, and that doesn't mean that, you're not faced with all these other challenges, but having the right team, that's on your team. What am I saying? Having the right team, yes, is just so important because you'll find out right away if somebody isn't bringing their A game. So yeah, it's a little bit about pre-production. I can go on, but
Did you hit any roadblocks on the way in pre-production where you just were like saying, "Gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to really do this or not"? And if you did, how did you overcome that?
yes, there was a moment where I saw the hard numbers of how much I had for each location for in the budget, and I saw how small that number was. And then I looked at my list of actual locations, and there was over 20 because there's about 103 scenes in the film, and so there was a moment where I was like, how am I going to do this? And I had told my production team, I said, if everyone can get us an almost free location, there was 6 of us at the time, and I was like, then we'll be okay because the numbers, figuring it out here, we're going to be fine. So I'm like, I'm giving you guys a month to do this. Like, let's rock, let's go, let's ask a friend, let's ask a neighbor. And so about a month and a half goes by, and I'm like, all right, guys, what do you got? Just crickets, just, and my mind was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Nobody got us, not one location. And so I panicked because I thought, I'm not gonna put my name on an indie looking film that looks, low quality. And so I don't know, just one by one, I it was like by a miracle I was able to get these locations. But I will say that I eventually went to these locations that I wanted in person, and these were complete strangers. And I told them our story and how we were trying to make this film happen, and I needed their help, and that I would work for free behind the cashier if I needed to get this location. I did not care, and I was just ready to do this. And it was just by a miracle that all these strangers helped us and gave us these locations for practically free, a lot of them. And so, by the grace of God, I mean, if it wasn't for them and our willingness to go forth, I mean, Demise would not have been made. So,
Yeah. Well, especially with independent filmmaking, it's so hard to get certain things. And you talk about locations, and we all know that, look, you can go to locations and then you tell them, what scene you're shooting, and then they're like, oh, wow, and they're not sure. And then what's going to go on and how many people are going to be there. And, there's a lot that we jump through to make independent films happen. And, for anybody who wants to get into independent filmmaking, you have to know it's not a cakewalk. There's a lot more that we have to go through, certainly than the studios or anybody with a lot of money. Now, one of the other factors you probably had to jump through hoops with was casting. Can you tell us your casting process and how you got, Liz and Carlo and the other cast members? Talk about that for a few minutes.
Yes. So our other producer, Nicole Metcalf, she introduced us to Nicole and Robin from Stella Nova Casting, and they were the ones who put on, the whole casting process. And Robin thought of Carlo initially after she read the script for the role of Caleb, and so yeah, we went through the whole auditioning process, and I saw our lovely actors, and I was just like, oh my gosh, there they are now. No, I really was excited to see them and see them, auditioning for the part. But the stars aligned when we found Crystal and Carlo and Liz, because without them, Demise wouldn't be this good. And it takes this caliber of actors to make these characters come to life. And one miscasting, your movie can fall flat. I'm telling you, casting is so key and it's so important. And you kind of have to have that team, that has the eye for talent on board, because all of us agreed when we casted at Liz and Carlo and Crystal, we are all like, yes, they're it. They're it.
Yeah. Well, what a great cast! What a great cast that you put together, and the casting directors. It was phenomenal. And everyone, first of all, everyone has to see Demise. It's on several platforms right now, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But let me go to Carlo right now. Carlo, what is your process in memorizing lines? I mean, you're an incredible actor. You had so many lines, you and Liz both in this. It was incredible. What is your process for memorizing all those lines? How do you do it?
I mean, I don't know if it's a see. I do it. What I do is I try to. It's weird, I guess, in a way. I'll read it, and then walk around and distract myself. Oh my God, I'll actually drive and read it at the same time, and then repeat it back to myself, and I'll for some reason I'll distract myself with a bunch of things around to memorize it, because when you're on set, a lot of things can happen. The lines can be changed or whatever, and there's a lot of distractions, a lot of things going on. At least me, my mind is always fluttering around. So I just read it a lot. If I can, I love to rehearse as much as possible with the actors, but if it's not possible because of time constraint, being low budget and all, I just read it, walk around the block, drive and read it, and just really just ingrain it in my head. And I don't know if there's any other way for, at least for me.
Well, you do it well. You do it well. Liz, how about you? The same question.
Hey, yeah, I because I'm dyslexic, it actually takes me a lot more to integrate lines and have them come out in order, the way they're written. And I loved everything about how Celine was written. So, sometimes stuff doesn't click in your brain because of how it's written. That wasn't the case with this, but I'm definitely a big believer in being physically active in the way that Carlo was talking about. So I went to a gym like the month before. I also had a specific idea about how Celine would look, and like, because she's about control, her controlling her weight, and like, being a certain way, presenting as Celine. So I was in there for multiple reasons, but I would go and try to, I find that when you elevate your breath, like you do in these kind of level 10 scenes that Demise has more of than less, that it makes the lines tumble out of your head unless you've actually trained and worked with the text with your breath elevated. So tried to run, tried to walk, tried to sit and then slump once I was done working out, doing the same text. But I find that that's really helpful. And it was in a time when people were still wearing masks in the gym. So it made me look a whole lot less creepy talking to myself because it just looked like I was huffing and puffing into my mask, hopefully. Or I have a reputation at Planet Fitness where they're like, here comes crazy.
You know, and to piggyback that, what the way also Yara wrote it, honestly made it easy to memorize because there's other auditions or other jobs I've done where it's harder because of the way it's written and you're not used to saying certain words and this and that. But the way Yara wrote it, she wrote it real, grounded, and normal, which also helped learning that text,
Yeah, totally understand.
which is
You
amazing.
know, I was an actor and I always had problems reading, going over lines and learning them. I mean, I think I was better, believe it or not, in plays when I was doing plays than I was doing any kind of television or movies. And they weren't even that big parts. But, maybe it was for me, maybe it was the nervous factor and what have you. But I loved going in front of a big group of people, but I couldn't audition for just a few. It was kind of crazy. Um, but I think we all have it. Everybody gets their jitters, whether you're learning lines or what have you, and it's challenging. Speaking of challenging, both Carlo and Liz, both of you, and Crystal, you guys did an amazing job in this movie. Um, Liz, what would you say was the most emotionally or challenging scene for you? Because there were so many. I mean, what would you really, what sticks in your mind?
First of all, thanks, Jeff. I think we had so much backing and we had rehearsal time with Yara, which was such a gift and so uncommon when you start getting into independent film. So that was a great cushion. Um, Probably the scene that I came home and told my husband I thought I biffed was the scene, I'll say the interrogation scene for anyone that hasn't seen the film. The last one that Carlo and I do together. I would say that's a level 11 kind of scene. And we were losing location at the end of that night. There had been even with film licenses in place, sometimes neighbors can get cranky. And at the end of the day, if someone makes a complaint, everything has to shut down. And so we had like, I think 20 minutes on the clock. And it's the reason that if you see the shots, they go handheld in it and it looks fantastic. Kudos to Justin for his operation in that crazy atmosphere. I thought Carlo was incredible in that scene. It's some of my favorite work of his in the film. And I think just challenging because there is a moment when maybe you're not prepared to do something mentally that day, or it just feels like a big challenge where someone says action and there's that terrifying moment where you open your mouth and you go, I hope all the preparation serves. I hope I'm plugged in and the rest is just face. And yeah, I definitely went home that night thinking that it was awful, my coverage. So I think it's just I think that there's and again, also I think fantastic editing, fantastic camera work, a great scene partner. Like, sometimes you're saved from yourself by the people that are around you too. So like, even though I didn't feel like this line came out, like I felt like entirely cohesively, like the scene, I was like, oh, that's a dramatically strong scene with some really solid work from everybody involved.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And Yada, what was your most difficult scene, do you think, without giving anything away? What was your most difficult scene, and how did you tackle it? Because, as a director, that's got to be, you're walking a tightrope to make sure that you get it the way you want it. How did you do that, and do you recall any story about that?
Yeah, there's a few stories. I guess there's technical difficulties and then creative difficulties. Um, but I would definitely say well, one of the scenes that we had at that mansion that we filmed at in Brentwood, where there was a lot of extras and we're also on a time crunch, and I was like thinking, I wish we had a whole another day here because there's so many other shots that I wanted to get. And I just feel like for the larger scenes, it was never enough time because you're orchestrating a massive set. You know, I think we had like, I don't know, at least 70 extras that day. You guys remember the baby shower scene. And so, yeah, I just remember thinking during the fire scene, it was so many moving parts, and getting that smoke machine right. And I just wanted to make sure it didn't look hokey. And it was something that I've never done, like filming a fire scene. And so just trying to get everything right, trying to make sure that the camera operators were getting enough footage for them to do the graphics at the end, you know, after we shot. So there's just a lot of firsts in that moment, and then getting everything to look realistic as far as them running out. And I was just so scared that it was just going to fall flat in terms of how real it was meant to look, or I wanted it to look, and then have it not being executed the way that it needed to be. But thankfully, it came out good. And you know, even though I wanted some other additional scenes, you know, additional shots for that day, I'm happy with the outcome. But yeah, it was really challenging because we only had like 2 takes for everyone to run out of that room, you know, because of the fire scene. And so, yeah, it was kind of like, is this going over well? Like, I just thought, like, gosh, I just need more time. But that's every director's, I guess, wish on the day of. I need more time. I need more takes. And so,
Yeah, and more money.
and more money, of course.
Yeah, always, always. Yeah, but it's incredible, and thank you for that and talking about that scene because it was really it's an intense scene. Um, Carlo, how did you approach playing Caleb?
Good question. I wanted to approach him likable. That's one of the first things I guess I told Yara was like to approach him likable because you know we've all seen that story of the douchebag guy who cheats on his wife and then he gaslights her, makes her seem like she's the crazy one and this and that. And I didn't want to go that route. And also, not only that, the way Yara wrote it didn't even go that route either. But I just wanted to still make him likable to the point where like, look, this guy made a mistake. You know, he's the one in the wrong, but he's not blaming anybody else. He's not, you know, gaslighting her or doing anything else. So I pushed him as a likable guy who makes a mistake and is in this weird love triangle who just like, I don't know what to do. I love them both, but what do I do? But I love you, but I love you. Oh my God, all this stuff. So it was just making them likable, making them relatable. And I guess it worked because I had a lot of people come up to me like, "Ah, man, at first I hated your character, but then I'm like, then they're like, you know what? I liked your character. You know what? He didn't turn out to be how I thought he was gonna be, and this and that. So I guess it kind of worked, you know. But it's also, it was all the way Yara wrote it. You know, the more the credit goes to her because the way she wrote it was just flawless and easy, and I feel like I didn't have to really interpret too much.
Well, on top of that, then, Carlo, how was it working with a female Latin director? I mean, like Yada.
I, you know, I love working with women. I have more in common with women. I have 5 sisters raised by my mom. My entire life has been surrounded by women. So working with women is easy, is flawless. And working with Yara was awesome because also she's an actress. So she gets it. She knows how to get you to where you gotta go. I love the way she can pull you aside and talk to you very quietly, like, hey, can you do this? Can you work on this? Can you do that? And it, you know, and it clicks because not everything always clicks. At least for me, I have to work really hard to be a good actor. So not everything always clicks for me. And so I miss things and this and that. But the fact that she was able to just talk to me and get me to where I needed to go, and she has that vision of what she wants, and that's where you trust. You have to trust your director, and it worked flawlessly, and I totally trust her, and I'm glad that I ended up working with Yana. And on another note, and working with Liz was amazing. You know, the scenes that we had, you know, like she made it easy to get into character. She made it easy for those scenes that I had, like the specific scenes she was talking about without giving away too much. She gave 110% even when the camera wasn't on her. And it made it easy to get into that. And I believe that acting is teamwork. And if you don't have a good teammate, I mean, you got to be a really good actor, anyways. But if you don't have a good team, you know, or actor across from you, you know, it makes it that much harder. but Liz was amazing, and she made it so easy to get into the character, the situations that I don't want to give away in the movie.
Great job. Great job. Talk.
And on another note, and working with Liz was amazing. The scenes that we had, like she made it easy to get into character. She made it easy for those scenes that I had, like the specific scenes she was talking about without giving away too much. She gave 110%, even when the camera wasn't on her, and it made it easy to get into that. And I believe that acting is teamwork. And if you don't have a good teammate, I mean, you got to be a really good actor, anyways. But if you don't have a good team, or actor across from you, it makes it that much harder. But Liz was amazing, and she made it so easy to get into the character, the situations that I don't want to give away in the movie.
Yeah, no, great, great. And that brings me to my next point. Liz, uh, how do you build that chemistry with another actor, and in this case with, Carlo? How do you build that?
First of all, oh, buddy, thank you, Carlo. And gosh, I mean, part of it, and I think Yara can talk about this in casting, and we didn't have, sometimes you have the luxury of chemistry reads. I think my casting was further down the line than Carlo's, so it was just kind of like, she had a call back with me, and then you kind of have to trust your instinct on that. So, like, first of all, just props to Selenova girls and Yara and the whole producing team. Um, I think Carlo was really intentional, talking about being spoiled with scene partners. He was really intentional about like, let's talk, let's get to know each other. Like if we're playing married people, like he'd be like, let's have this meal together. And we'd get deep on set, which is really easy to do once you start doing like splits, and you're doing like for anyone who's not familiar with that term, really, really late hours together, sometimes seeing dawn and going to bed at 6 p.m. and that kind of stuff. And so, kind of that lucid dreaming state with people, you get real, real deep real quick. But I think, I across from him, I knew I was across from someone like trustworthy, as well as, like it's, there's a lot of sexual and sensual elements to this film. We have to really be barbed with each other at times. And I think if I can make a recommendation for anybody, like it's to be a scene partner like Carlo, where there's a sense of play and also like I've got your back, we've got this together. When he says team, he means it. And I think that there's the ephemeral whatever that makes people have chemistry on screen. I think he and Crystal crackle on screen together. And I think Crystal and Morris are like perfectly paired. So I think, like there's also the piece where you just go, wow, thank God that worked, huh? And there's stuff that you see in camera that you wouldn't even maybe see in the room 2 feet from people, right? But yeah, I think a spirit of openness that people have, like, can make up for the moments when the ephemeral is not blessing you. And yeah, I think I just lucked out for the humans I was across from.
Yeah, I think all the actors in this lucked out working with so many other professional actors. It's just tremendous to see the chemistry between all of you. Yada, can you talk to us a little bit about uh, the production in itself on the daily basis? Liz talked about long hours. I mean, all independent films, all films in general have long hours. Any kind of shooting TV have long hours. How did you deal with that all? Was there any situations that came that you were struggling with, either going in or while we were shooting? Talk to us about production. Once you got there, obviously pre-production is one thing, but then once you get to production, that's something else.
Yeah, there was constant moving parts. I remember during filming, we hadn't found a whole day's location, and this was the scene where it was like a restaurant scene. It was multiple scenes, and we were looking to get one location and triple up that one location for a few different scenes. And so every day we're sort of after the onset hours sort of still poking around online and figuring out where we're going to be that day. And it was like a week away still, and we were kind of going, oh gosh, we don't have this location yet. And but it all came together, and there's just constant. There's just a lot of stories of constant problem solving. You're constantly problem solving from day to day, and I think one of the other days we had some trouble with getting a studio nurse for the infant that we had on set, and it was this whole miscommunication about the age of the baby. And so the day of that we had the infant actor on set, our studio teacher says, "Oh, you need an on-set nurse to have a 4-month-old here on set." And we're like, why are we just figuring this out now? Like, we're shooting in an hour. And so that was like one of those things. I don't know if you remember that story, Jeff, but just another miracle came through where someone called somebody, and then we had a studio, a nurse come down, and then we were able to film with that baby on set. They only have like 2 hours max to be on set, whether you're filming them or not. And so little things like that. And there's just so many stories. I think like one of the days that we were at the park, everyone's calling the HOA that owned the little neighborhood park to make sure the sprinklers weren't going off, and we're going to be there till a certain time, and just like so many funny stories like this.
Tons of funny stories. And with you, see, sometimes, well, let's face it, when you're just a director, you're only dealing with certain things. Nobody's really taking a lot of stuff to you. But on this, you were a producer as well, and you're the writer, and you were hands-on all the way. So obviously, everybody tried to leave you alone to a certain extent with certain things, but then you were also involved in a lot of things that you had to take control of, and you had to say, hey, we got to get this done, we got to get that done. You're talking about the kids, that's child labor laws you're dealing with. We're dealing with all kinds of different things. So it's imperative that, you being the leader, you have a lot of the answers. Sometimes we don't. And that's why we have other producers that we can go to. Let's talk about music in the movie. It sets such a tone. In Demise, the music is exceptional. Talk to us about, how'd you go about that and getting what you wanted and securing all that music?
Yeah, so the beginning of this whole music process with Demise was a rocky start in the beginning, because there are so many different ways and avenues that you can use, for music, for the film, and establishing what the sounds were with different genres of music that I wanted for the film. It was a little bit difficult to find, I guess, the musical voice of Demise. And so thankfully I have an incredible music composer, Jeff Clayton. He scored some amazing original scores for the entire film. But yeah, working with him in the beginning, we're sort of trying to find that voice, that melody that we want to have stringed through the whole film. And so he worked on the movie for a long time, way before we even shot anything. He created the original score. But besides that, I spent about 9 months finding about 30 songs I licensed for the film. And it was such a crazy process, because, I mean, there were days where I would be on my laptop for like 8, 10 hours and then shut it like I didn't find anything today, like just on music. This is not even the editing. So, but yeah, so I use this site called APM. They have thousands and thousands of songs on there from various composers and artists, and you can get lost and go down this rabbit hole where you're just, you're up in the early morning and then it's dark all of a sudden, and you're just like, oh God, like what day is it?
Yeah.
Makes me never want to be a producer.
This is actually this position is what is it? Music supervising. So this is nothing to do with producing, but I actually enjoyed the whole process, even though it was really tedious. It was fun to find that musical pairing that brought out the essence of the scene and created this like underbelly of what was really happening in the scene and just brought out so many different things. I had such a fun time doing it, and then working with Jeff was such a great experience. I think from this point forward, I would always want to work on music with any film that I direct because it's such an important piece of the storytelling, you know?
Yeah,
I agree 100% that. Yeah.
it sure is, and it's in this film, you know, you just feel it, and you see how music just moves and stirs the scenes as well. It's pretty incredible. Besides great actors and a great director, um, Carlo and Liz. Carlo first. How much do you usually get involved with a project after principal shooting is done? And if so, you know, do you have any? I mean, in this one, we got you working.
Yeah, in this one, yeah, but any other projects, I don't. I'll just do a post here and there. But I guess with this is my first time that This is why I was late today because these are things that I never do. So I forgot the date. There's so many things happening, and I gotta do this. And this is the first time that I'm doing this, and but I'm excited about it because it's like again, I'm excited that it's my first lead in the movie. This is by far the best feature project I've ever been in, and I'm just excited about it. And I'm learning as I go, trying to figure things out and stuff like that to promote it, to get it out there. And it benefits everybody, on the team. It doesn't matter what it is because, like, if this becomes a hit, which it is, and I believe it will, everybody benefits from that. It elevates your career, you get better. And this is what I think we're all in it for, to be better, to work with amazing people and keep pushing this career and show Hollywood we're here, damn it, we're here. But yeah, this is my first time getting involved with everything. This is crazy for me. And I'm always looking for ways to like now promote Demise. Like I'm at my bar and I'm like, hey, if you guys watch my movie Demise, I'll give you a free shot. They're like, yeah, but it's gonna cost me a lot of money, but it's worth it. And then just trying to figure out little things. Like I was thinking of doing a stunt of jumping off the building with a big sign of Demise, but I'm not a stunt guy yet, so I don't know about doing that. But it's fun, it's awesome, and it's part of the industry, and it's exciting, and it's really the first time that I'm really 110% involved in doing it.
Yeah, and you enjoyed it.
I am. I'm enjoying it. I just need an assistant, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, you need an assistant. Yeah, and Liz, thank you for being here. And look, any kind of PR that you do on a film after the fact, it's really important. But just getting involved in any way possible. What's your thoughts on that, Liz?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, typically your journey with things is in post-production. Maybe you show up to do ADR and that's about it. I think that, again, we've been really lucky, like, to also connect with other people in the industry that are supporting us as well. Like the cast of Griselda was out there at a premiere, and they were so nice. And just, like people doing interviews, like I think particularly the Latinx community like has shown up to support Crystal and Yara and the rest of the team and Carlo and I think it's not just us. We've been so embraced by the film community around us. I think everybody pulls for independent film, and usually everybody's jogging so hard on their own 19 projects. It's been really touching to see other people show up for us. And just be in our corner, especially for not only our Latina, but like our female director. I think that there's been a spotlight put on her, particularly because she is like a one-man band with, yes, obviously amazing producers around her, but just doing so many pieces. And I love that the light's getting shown on the fact that this is just years of her life and hard work that's being celebrated.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great, and well said. Look, we got a few more minutes, and I hope you guys could just give me that. There's a lot more to cover, but Liz, what are some of the best ways that actors can market themselves?
Whew, I will give my 10 cents on this. I'm still figuring out this game. Honestly, like my Instagram, people found me. Like here's what I'll say. people are going to find you with whatever sparks them. I worked with a fantastic metal band called Ghost. And so like that community found me. I'm a metalhead too. So like I um, post a lot of Medusa based humor. And so, like I just honestly, like I spent so much of my life hoping that I would be someone else. And so I think the more authentic you are with like, I'm not a Lakers girl. Like I don't have a great tan. And I'm a little weird. But like, some people are, if they're looking for a little left of center, like then they're like, oh, all right, I guess this girl's interesting to me. And if not,
You're
like
not weird. You're
there's
unique. You're unique.
thanks. I'll take both in different phases of my life, or different moods. But thank you, Carla. That was very nice of you. But I don't know. I think you just kind of I think the more like you're like, yeah, this is it. I know I play cracked well. I know I play weirdly girls that are extra well. I think that's why I got all this hair right now, is I'm playing lots of women with like dogs and bags. And I think just figuring out what you book and moving back from that, but also where your curiosity is. Because I think again, I tried to make myself more marketable in areas I thought I would be. And there's somebody already doing that. And if that's not you, like get out of their way and you find your way.
Yeah, yeah, and everybody's got their own way. Everybody's got their own way, you know. Carlos, some of us know that you have a very well-known sister in the business. You have a very well-known sister in the business, and has she given you any advice on how to maybe market yourself? Because I know that's very important. Or has she given you any any way that maybe an obvious lesson of things to do or not to do in the industry?
Yeah, market myself. Well, I got that's the next question I gotta ask her. But she's giving me advice on, like just work hard, study hard, go to class, really enjoy the craft, really pay attention, really be present, and just enjoy it and have fun. The advice, the other like piece of advice with that is something very cool I didn't think about the other day. Is like, when I went to the SAG Awards with my brother-in-law, um, she's like, if they ask you any questions that you feel uncomfortable with or you don't know how to answer, be like, hey, let me think about that. Let me get back to you on that. Because I'm a little crazy, and I'll say everything that's on my mind, and I'll just blur it out, and I'll say things, and later on I'm like, why did I say that? That's me. But with her, like, and I'm learning, and she's like, just take it easy, take a breath, speak slowly, think about your answer, and so I'm learning those little things because I've just, even though I've been doing acting for 14, 15 years, all this press talking, going on carpets, all this is new. I don't know how to deal with this. So she's been like slowly coaching me, like, hey, do this, say this, be like this, and stuff like that, which I need to learn and do. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Do you call your brother-in-law Ken or Ryan?
No, definitely right, not Ken, definitely right.
Um, if we could, Yada, if you could just kind of somehow a little bit wrap this up as far as talking about uh, talking about post production. We started with pre-production. We've talked about production. Now post production. Tell us a little bit about that, and how you went into that, and what obstacles you encountered there, or how you were able to get things done.
Sure. Yeah, in the beginning, I mean, obviously, this was my first time going through the whole editing process. And so it was definitely a new beast to tackle. And thankfully, after it took a long time to find our editor, Lawrence Jordan, who's a seasoned editor, and he was exactly what I needed because I thought, gosh, if this is my first time going through editing, I sure don't want to find an editor where it's his first time too, because then the movie would not be the way you guys are seeing it. Yeah, so with editing, I very quickly realized that this is the phase where it's a make or break. You can put together your footage and if you don't have a partner that has the right eye for what you're going for, they can piece this together very poorly and unlike anything you've ever imagined. And yeah, so it took a couple times to find our editor. But thankfully, when we started working together, we just clicked as well. We had such a great working relationship, and the key to all of this is finding an editor who's patient and who knows this game, because all these new editors, they want to jump on the next project. They're busy. They want to do this. So, nobody knows you. You're small, you're indie. They want the big guy, and you're sitting here like, come on, let's do this. This is a good movie. What are you talking about? Don't go anywhere. No, so working with Larry, he knew that this takes time. You have to have a lot of patience, and you have to be willing to sacrifice your whole life for about a year to put this masterpiece together if you truly want to stick it out and see your vision come to life. And so we did just that. I was dead to the world for about a year. And yeah, I worked on editing and music, and now we have Demise. And so I feel that if those sacrifices weren't made, if I wasn't really picky about finding the right editor, Demise would not look this way. It would be some rushed thing because we're Indian. The other thing too, you can't let other people put you in a box just because you're at a certain level in your career. A lot of people wanted to tell me like, oh, this is your directorial debut. Well, you're not going to find the editor that you want because you can't afford it. So you should start editing. Like, I had people tell me this. And I'm thinking, do you know how long it's going to be for me to learn the technology to first figure out like editing? Like, this is not happening. So jumping through a lot of hoops to get to where we are, yes, but it's definitely having that right teammate again is what makes the dream work. And Larry is the cream of the crop, and I'm so happy to have worked with him, and I hope to work with him again. And he came to our premiere, and he was loving it because it was like his first time watching Demise as an audience member, not like working on it, like oh, let me fix this or let's do that. And so he was like, gosh, I missed all those nuances when we were working together. And I was like, well, yeah, Larry, we're trying to fix every damn thing in the process of it. But yeah, it was a learning experience. And one of the things that Larry did say that he was grateful for was that, I guess having everything prepared when we met the day of, we would work like at least 8 hours a day. 8 to 10 hours a day. And so he was like, it went so much smoother because we knew what we were going to get into that day. It wasn't like, what are we doing today? So definitely helps to watch all of your footage before you meet with your editor. I learned that too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a heck of a job that you have done with this film with Demise from start to finish. And all of us that worked on it, we can't thank you enough. You were such a great leader. You are a great leader. Can you let the audience know where they could see Demise?
Yes, everyone can watch Demise on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Vudu, Roku, as well as on demand.
It's all over out there. Now, one other thing, I understand that when your husband, Steven, our executive producer, first got together, he suggested maybe you give up on the industry and become an event planner.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
He was the many people trying to dissuade me from this because, all the challenges and all the tears shed and, a lot of this, right, in this industry, and you guys know this. But yeah, he was like, you're so good at planning things. Why don't you be an event planner? And I wanted to rip his eyes out at the time.
Yeah, I'm
But
glad. I'm sure you're glad you didn't listen to him.
no, but he eventually got himself together and realized, maybe she does have some talent doing this. And then he came through later, of course. So,
Yeah, I guess he redeemed himself with coming up with the funding for Demise.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So,
See, now he wants to be a producer. Now you should tell him, hey, just stick to being a lawyer again. Just get the funding. Because now he's like being a producer because he's the one now texting everybody in the group text like, hey guys, let's do this, let's do this. And you're like, yeah. So he got the producing bug.
Absolutely.
he definitely got the producing bug because he's like, oh, it's working on Demise is so much more fun than working in law. And he's like, I'd rather just work on movies now. I was like, work on your own movies. Like, this is our only thing together now.
Tell him to start working on Demise Part 2.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of, Yada, what do you have coming up?
Well, gosh, it's not like I have a long, list of other projects coming my way or anything. But no, next I'm currently writing a Christmas rom-com, and so I'm almost done with that, and I hope that will be next in line to direct and produce. But yes, of course, I want to write a sequel for Demise and have our lovely cast back to come together again and do it all over again.
Absolutely. And Liz, do you have anything to plug or any questions for Yada?
Um, I think just thank you to Yara. And then in terms of stuff to plug, Rumble Through the Dark just had limited release. That's an Aaron Eckhart, Bella Thorne flick. Or as a, uh, I think they call me Curvy Luck in that one. And then there's a film called Dad's Party, which has Faith Ford and Armand Asante in it. And that one's gonna drop soon. My friend Kenyon Prince just directed me in two things, four and a horror anthology, which I think it. Oh gosh, let me get the title that they settled on. Sorry, guys. Um, okay, that would be in upcoming. Um, oh, and Futures Past by Wes Miller is also coming out. All of You Will Die. There we go. Is the other Canyon Prince flick, and then hopefully something that's going into production after Thanksgiving with that same director and the wonderful producer Shanna Forrestal. So I'm so excited to work with these teams. And Jose Montesinos and I might be collaborating on something in 2025.
Fantastic. A lot to look forward to. And Carlo, what do you have to perhaps plug?
Just Demise. That's it.
There you go.
I'm working Demise. That's what I got going on for right now. The auditions and work has been really, really
Who's working it?
at the moment and stuff like that. But I know other things will come. I'm not even worried about that. But I just, Demise right now. I just want everybody to watch it, enjoy it. It's a fun one. And, let's get part 2 going.
It's a roller coaster, that's for sure. Look, I can't thank all of you enough. There are so many other questions and just discussion that we could be having, I mean, for hours, seriously, to talk about the industry, talking about all of us and what have you. But thank you all very, very much for coming on Rolling with Olin.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, thank you for all your work.
Thank you. And thanks for all your work on Demise, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you.